Stepmother demanded I pay $800 rent. So I evicted her, her two freeloader kids, and reclaimed the $1.2 million house my grandparents secretly left me. You ever walk into your own house and feel like a guest? That's what it became for me, slowly, after my mom died. My name's Evan. I'm 20 now, living in upstate New York. But back then, when I was 8, everything changed. I don't remember much about the funeral, just that it was gray, and my dad didn't speak much after. He shut down. It was like he folded himself in half and never stood back up again. A month later, my grandparents moved in. They were everything warm, grounded, old school. They filled the silence my mom left behind. Our house, this big lakefront place near Canandaigua, used to feel too big and hollow. But with them there, it became a home again. That lasted for a few years. Then came Karen. She worked with my dad, HR or finance or something. I never really asked. He met her about a year after Mom passed. Within 6 months, she and her 2 kids had moved in. Her son, Cole, was 10. Her daughter, Maya, was 12. I was 11. That's when everything started to shift. Karen was nice at first, sweet even. She brought cookies the first time she visited, complimented the decor like she actually meant it. But once she moved in, that smile turned into a sneer. Not right away, she was smarter than that. It started with small things. She didn't like how the living room was arranged. Too old-fashioned, she said. Then she didn't like how late we had dinner. Not good for digestion, apparently. Within a few months, she had redecorated everything, cleared out what she called the clutter, and replaced the family photos on the wall with abstract art she bought online. My grandparents didn't say much, but I could tell they hated it. Grandpa especially. He used to sit in this plaid recliner by the fireplace every night with a book. She donated it, said it was dated. He didn't argue. He just moved to the kitchen chair and read there. I think they held back for my sake. They didn't want to start a war. They passed away a year apart, quietly, peacefully, but the house wasn't the same after that. Karen took full control then. By the time I hit 16, I was doing the dishes, the vacuuming, the yard work, the grocery runs. Everyone has to pitch in, she'd say, while Cole played video games for hours and Maya took selfies in the bathroom mirror. I once asked her why Cole never took out the trash. She smiled like I was the one being difficult. He's under a lot of pressure at school, she said. You're older, more responsible. My dad? He just nodded along, always distracted, always trying to keep the peace. I stopped expecting him to notice. Funny thing is, I never knew my grandparents had left the house to me, not until years later. I just kept my head down, finished high school, got a part-time job, and started taking classes online. I didn't feel like a son anymore. I felt like the hired help who didn't get paid. I got home around 9:30 that night, still smelling like espresso and burnt milk. My feet ached from the double shift I picked up at the cafe, and all I wanted was to microwave some leftovers and pass out. But the moment I walked in, I knew something was off. Karen was already in the kitchen, dressed like she was heading to a winery, not sipping boxed wine over spaghetti in her own home. Her makeup was on, her hair curled. She had on those gold earrings she only wore when she wanted to feel rich. She leaned against the counter with a wine glass in hand, smiling. Not the kind of smile you give someone you're happy to see. The kind you use when you're about to deliver bad news and want to pretend it's no big deal. Evening, Evan, she said, swirling her wine. We need to talk. I barely had my backpack off. About what? She didn't answer right away, just took a long sip, like she was trying to drag out the moment. Then she set the glass down with a little clink and smiled wider. We've decided it's time you start contributing a bit more around here. Financially. I stared at her, waiting for the punchline. Come again. Rent, she said, as if the word was warm and cozy. You're an adult now, working, taking classes. We think it's only fair. I blinked. How much? $800 a month. I laughed. I didn't mean to, it just came out. 800? Are you serious? She didn't laugh back. Very. Cole and Maya are still finding themselves. You, on the other hand, are more established. Established? I repeated. I'm working part-time at a coffee shop and doing online classes in a shared room. She tilted her head like she was trying to be reasonable. Exactly. You're building stability. This is part of becoming a responsible adult. I looked around. The dishes in the sink were from dinner, which I hadn't eaten. The floor I vacuumed yesterday still had bits of Maya's fake lashes in the carpet. The trash I took out before my shift was already full again. Cole's shoes were by the couch. Maya's purse was open on the table. My dad was nowhere, as usual. Why just me? I asked finally. Why not Cole or Maya? Karen's smile stayed frozen. Let's not compare apples to oranges. They're still in transition. You mean lazy? She set her wine down harder this time. Don't be combative. We're all trying to contribute in our own ways. Cole's been looking into starting a podcast. Maya's thinking about social media marketing. They're just not in the same place as you. I nodded slowly, my stomach turning. Right, got it. She gave me a tight little nod, like we'd just agreed on something civilized. Then she picked up her wine again. Dinner's in the microwave. I assumed you'd want to handle your own plate. I didn't respond. I just stood there, staring at her while something cold settled in my chest. That was the moment. The switch flipped. I wasn't confused or upset or even surprised. I was done playing along, done keeping quiet, done letting her rewrite the rules while I swept the floors. She had no idea what was coming, but she would, very soon. The next evening, I told Karen we should have a family meeting over dinner. Her eyes lit up like I just handed her the deed to the house. Ironic, really, considering what was about to happen. She said she'd handle dinner. Of course, that meant ordering takeout and plating it like she'd cooked it herself. I didn't care. Let her have her little performance. I had one of my own ready. We all sat down at the table, me, Karen, Cole, and Maya. My dad wasn't home yet, which was perfect. I wanted him to hear it on speakerphone. Karen cleared her throat like she was addressing a boardroom. So, I thought this would be a good time to talk about Evan's new living arrangement. Maya was scrolling through her phone. Cole was halfway into a burrito. Neither of them looked up. Karen slid a printed sheet of paper toward me like it was some kind of legal contract. Just something I drew up. Nothing binding, of course, but I think it outlines expectations nicely. I glanced at the paper. It was titled Monthly Contribution Agreement. It looked like something she'd copied from a real estate blog and filled in with buzzwords: shared utilities, equitable responsibility, mutual accountability. I set it aside and took out a folder from my backpack. Actually, I said, I've got something too. Karen blinked. Oh, what's that? I pulled out the deed and laid it flat on the table. This house, I said, tapping it. It's in my name. Legally. The room went still. Maya actually looked up. Cole stopped chewing. Karen let out a small, breathy laugh. What are you talking about? I flipped the folder around so she could read it. Grandma and Grandpa transferred the deed to me before they passed. My name's been on it for years. Karen leaned forward like she was trying to spot a typo. This is a mistake. There's no way. No mistake, I said calmly. I called the county clerk yesterday, confirmed it, and I've got copies of the transfer forms too. Want to see? Karen's face twitched. Your father would have told me. Oh, I said, and pulled out my phone. Let's ask him. I called Dad and hit speaker. He picked up on the second ring. Hey, Evan, what's up? I didn't waste time. Can you confirm something real quick? Is the house in my name? A pause, then a cough, then, reluctantly, yeah, that's correct. Your grandparents set that up before they passed. Karen's mouth dropped open like he'd just confessed to murder. Thanks, I said, and ended the call. The silence that followed was beautiful. Cole broke it first. Wait, so we're living in your house? Karen sat back, her face pale. This doesn't make sense. There must be a misunderstanding. There's not, I said, but I understand why you'd be confused. You've been acting like the landlord for years. Her mask finally cracked. That calm, wine-sipping superiority vanished. She looked like she'd just been hit with a cold bucket of truth. I think, I said, rising from the table, we should probably have another family meeting tomorrow morning. No one argued. Maya looked like she wanted to disappear into her chair. Cole muttered something under his breath and stared at the table. I left the room with the deed in hand. Let them sit in it for a while. The next morning, I got up earlier than usual. I made coffee, scrambled some eggs, and waited. Karen came downstairs in a robe, her fake smile from last night gone. She didn't even say good morning. Cole followed, looking like he hadn't slept. Maya was last, wearing a hoodie and sunglasses indoors like she was hiding from TMZ. They all sat down without being asked. I poured myself a cup of coffee and took a long sip before I said anything. I could feel Karen's eyes on me, waiting, calculating. So, I started, setting the mug down. About that rent thing. Karen flinched, but tried to act casual. Evan, let's not be petty about it. No, I interrupted. You were right. Everyone should contribute. So I drew up a fair new proposal. I pulled out a fresh sheet of paper and slid it across the table. Cole leaned over to read it first. $1,200 a month? Each, plus utilities, I added, nodding. You'll split water, gas, Wi-Fi, garbage, all of it. Since you've been living here rent-free for over a decade, consider this. Retroactive fairness. Karen looked like she'd swallowed her tongue. That's insane. We're not paying you rent. I shrugged. Then you can move out. Simple. This is extortion, she snapped. No, Karen. This is math. I let the silence stretch just long enough to see the panic start to settle on her face. Then I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone. Also, I said casually, I recorded your phone call yesterday. Karen's eyes narrowed. What phone call? I tapped a button, and her voice filled the kitchen on speaker. I think Evan would benefit from a change of environment. Maybe a live-in program, or transfer to a campus dorm. Something to help with his mental health. Cole's jaw dropped. Maya coughed on her smoothie. I paused the recording. That was you, trying to convince Dad to send me away so you could keep playing house without the burden, right? Karen tried to recover. I was just worried. You've been unstable lately. I raised an eyebrow. Because I didn't want to pay rent? She didn't answer. You said you wanted fairness, I continued. So let's be fair. You've all been living here for free, eating food I bought, walking around like you own the place. Meanwhile, I work, study, and cook your dinner. Karen stood up suddenly, pacing. You're twisting everything. This isn't how families operate. No, I said. This is how freeloaders operate. She turned to Maya and Cole, arms flailing. Are you seriously okay with this? Cole shrugged. I don't even have a job. Then maybe it's time to get one, I replied. Karen pointed a trembling finger at me. This is harassment. I leaned back and smiled. This is ownership. I finished my coffee and stood. You have 1 week to decide. Pay the rent or pack your things. No one said anything as I walked out. Just the sound of Karen's shallow breathing and Cole muttering damn under his breath. I went upstairs and started drafting rental agreements, just in case. The The tables had turned, and for once, I was the one sitting comfortably. By the next morning, the gloves were off. I came downstairs and found Karen pacing the living room, phone in one hand, her other hand flying through the air like she was conducting an orchestra of rage. "I don't care what the law says, Brian," she snapped. "He's a child. He doesn't know what he's doing. This house has been my home for 12 years. No, I will not be pushed out by some petty power trip." She didn't even flinch when I walked in. She wanted me to hear. I leaned against the doorframe, sipping from my mug. "Hey, Karen, just a heads up. New York's a one-party consent state. I can legally record anything I'm part of." She froze, her mouth still open, mid-sentence, then slowly lowered the phone and ended the call. "You little creep," she hissed. "You've been spying on me." "Not spying," I said calmly. "Just making sure I have receipts when people try to get me institutionalized." She stomped over like she wanted to claw the smirk off my face. "You think you're so clever, but you have no idea what it means to actually own a home. The taxes, the maintenance." I held up a hand. "Already called a lawyer, spoke with a property manager, got everything I need to legally enforce an eviction." She actually laughed, sharp and cold. "Evict me? From my own home?" I raised an eyebrow. "My home, remember." Just then, Cole came thudding down the stairs. He had a blanket wrapped around him like a cape and a Red Bull in his hand. "This is so dumb," he grumbled. "I was gonna start streaming again this week." "You're messing with my brand, dude." "What brand?" I asked. "You average 3 viewers, and one of them's Maya on mute." Maya, who had slinked in from the hallway, crossed her arms. "You can't seriously kick us out. Dad won't let it happen." I picked up my phone. "Let's ask." It rang 4 times before he answered. "Hey, Evan, what's going on?" I didn't waste time. "Dad, they've got 7 days. After that, they're either paying rent or leaving." He was silent for a second. "Are you sure that's the right approach?" "I've been patient for 10 years. This is the right approach." He sighed. "All right, I'll talk to Karen." Karen stormed over and snatched the phone from me. "Are you kidding me? You're just going to let him do this?" I could hear my dad's voice on speaker, low and tired. "Karen, I can't keep pretending like this is okay. You've gone too far." She stared at the phone like it had just betrayed her. "You're spineless," she whispered, and ended the call. I watched her deflate right in front of me. No more speeches. No more manipulation. Just silence. Maya mumbled something about needing a smoothie and disappeared. Cole dropped onto the couch like a kid who just found out Santa wasn't real. I stood there, looking at the 3 of them. This once untouchable little monarchy crumbling in real time. They thought they could guilt me, gaslight me, control me. But they were in my house now. And this time, I wasn't backing down. The eviction notices came 3 days later. I had them sent by certified mail and hand-delivered, just to make sure there were no, "we didn't see it," excuses. Maya screamed when she saw hers taped to her bedroom door. Cole shouted something about human rights violations before slamming his door so hard a picture fell off the hallway wall. Karen? She tried to pretend it wasn't real. She walked around with her usual air of forced grace, holding the paper like it was a piece of junk mail she'd accidentally opened. But I saw her hands shaking. I saw her pacing outside the kitchen window, making phone calls, whispering like the neighbors might hear. And the house? It turned tense, quiet. The freeloaders didn't know how to live in silence, without entitlement, without control. They tiptoed around me like I might explode at any moment. That Friday, Cole destroyed his gaming chair. I heard the crash from upstairs. "This is bullshit," he screamed. "I just got to gold rank." "I don't care," Karen snapped from the hallway. "You've had 2 weeks to get a job and all you've done is whine." Maya filmed a tearful TikTok the same night. She staged it like a breakup vlog, sat on the bed in full makeup, messy bun, fake crying into the camera while soft piano music played in the background. "My family is tearing apart because of greed," she sniffled. "Some people would rather hoard power than lift others up. I've been betrayed by someone I thought I could trust." I watched the video while making eggs and added a laughing emoji in the comments. She blocked me 2 minutes later. That weekend, Karen took to Facebook, posted a long sob story about the house I built with love, how she had taken in a grieving child and raised him like her own, and now he was punishing us for existing. She attached a photo of the front porch with the lake in the background and a single line beneath it. "We will rise above this cruelty. Love always wins." I didn't comment. I didn't have to. By Sunday night, 3 of my mom's old friends had lit up the comments section with screenshots. Photos of Karen sunbathing by the pool while I mowed the lawn. Text she sent years ago complaining about that weird kid with no social skills. A receipt showing she tried to sell some of my late mom's antique plates at a consignment shop. Every post, every inspirational caption, crumbled under the weight of receipts. But the final blow came the following Wednesday. I got a ping from the motion sensor in the hallway front door. It was 2:11 p.m. I was still at work. I pulled up the security feed on my phone. There she was, Karen, creeping into my mom's old bedroom, the one she had locked up after redecorating, saying it was too depressing to leave untouched. She moved like she was in a heist movie, glancing over her shoulder every few seconds. I watched her dig through the jewelry chest. She found the velvet pouch, my mom's charm bracelet, the one with her initials and mine. She looked at it for a second, then stuffed it into her purse. I hit record. When I got home that night, I didn't say a word, just walked past her in the kitchen and placed a printed screenshot from the camera feed on the counter. She turned pale. "Wah, what is this?" "Proof," I said. "Of theft from a dead woman's bedroom." She opened her mouth, then closed it. No spin, No smirk. No wine glass this time. I walked away and texted my lawyer. She took the bracelet. I've got footage. Proceed with lockout paperwork. Karen thought she'd buried the past, but I wasn't my father. I wasn't scared of her voice. And now? Now the whole world could see her for who she really was. Karen called a family meeting 2 days before the lockout deadline. She was wearing knockoff designer clothes, Gucci belt, Chanel slides, and a Louis Vuitton scarf that still had the plastic tag barely tucked under the fold. I knew they were fake because I'd seen the Amazon boxes in the recycling bin last week. She cleared her throat like she was giving a TED Talk. Maya was on the couch holding her phone, probably live streaming the whole thing to her 10,000 followers. Cole stood behind Karen, arms crossed, jaw clenched, wearing a hoodie that read, "No justice, no rent." Karen took center stage. "I've made a decision," she announced. "We're leaving, not because we have to, but because we choose to. Your father and I," she paused, glanced at her phone, then added, "have purchased a lovely home in Florida." Cole nodded solemnly, like this was a press conference and not a last-ditch lie. Karen smiled, fake and wide. "We'll be gone by the end of the week. We're choosing peace. We're choosing happiness. And frankly, Evan, we're choosing to walk away from your toxicity." I sipped my coffee, didn't say a word. Right on cue. The doorbell rang. Karen blinked. "Who is?" I stood and opened the door. 2 uniformed movers stepped in, flanked by a sheriff in a light brown jacket. He tipped his hat at Karen. "Afternoon, ma'am. We're here to oversee the removal of your property." Karen's face collapsed. "Excuse me." I handed the sheriff the paperwork, filed with the county clerk. "They've got 4 hours to clear out what's theirs." "Already been reviewed," the sheriff said, flipping through the pages. "Everything's in order." Maya dropped her phone. Wait, you're serious?" I turned to her. "You can stream it if you want. Might go viral." Karen stormed toward the sheriff. "You can't just barge in here. You're not the owner." The sheriff replied calmly. "Mr. Walker is. You've got until 4 p.m. The movers started hauling out bags and boxes. Karen clung to the staircase railing like she was being dragged from Buckingham Palace. "This is harassment," she shrieked. "This is a hate crime." "Against what?" I asked. "Overdue guests?" Cole's voice cracked as he ran upstairs. "Don't touch my gaming setup." A minute later, he returned with his monitor, cords dangling, muttering, "This is unconstitutional." Maya's ring light was dismantled by one of the movers. She let out a small cry and started scrambling to pack up her tripods and LED panels. One of the guys carried out Karen's faux designer luggage. The handle broke halfway down the walkway, and the wheel popped off with a sad little clunk. Karen tried to salvage her performance. She stood in the foyer, bags packed, eyes red, clutching her LV purse like it was her last shred of dignity. She turned to me and sniffed dramatically. "You'll regret this. When your father and I are living our best life on the beach." "He's not going with you," I interrupted. She blinked. "What?" "I talked to him. He's not moving to Florida. He said he needs space to think." She opened her mouth, closed it, then suddenly burst into tears. "Oh my God, I've given everything to this family." "You gave nothing," I said quietly. "You took, and now it's over." The sheriff gave her a polite nod. "Let's get the last box, ma'am." Karen stepped outside, her heels catching slightly on the porch step. Her designer bag tore at the strap, spilling cheap perfume and a crushed box of wine into the bushes. I stood in the doorway and watched as they loaded the last of it into the van. Garbage bags, scuffed shoes, tangled cords, fake luxury dreams stuffed into broken plastic bins. She looked back one last time, but I didn't wave. I didn't flinch. I just shut the door, and for the first time in 12 years, it finally felt like my house again. The house was quiet, not awkward quiet, not that heavy silence that used to hang in the air after one of Karen's long lectures for Cole's tantrums. No, this was the kind of quiet you feel deep in your chest. Peaceful, still, real. I spent the first couple days just existing in it. No footsteps stomping down the hall. No Maya's constant TikTok ring light flickering under the door. No Karen's wine glass clinking while she told me how I could maximize the kitchen flow. Just the hum of the fridge, the occasional creak of old floorboards, and the sound of my own breath. My dad stopped by a few days later. He rang the bell. That alone surprised me. He never used to. He always just walked in like Karen owned the place. This time, he stood there on the porch, looking older than I remembered, his hands jammed into the pockets of his windbreaker. "Hey," he said, "just checking in." I didn't say much. Let him sit in the quiet for once. We had coffee at the kitchen table. He kept trying to explain things, like explanations would undo the last 10 years. "I didn't know it had gotten that bad," he said. "I thought maybe things would settle eventually. I didn't want to cause conflict." I stirred my coffee. "You didn't want to pick a side." He looked down, said nothing. When he left, I didn't stop him. I didn't slam the door, didn't yell. Just let him go. Let him sit with that same silence he let me live in for half my life. Cole ended up crashing at a friend's place, last I heard. Still posting on Reddit about getting kicked out by a psycho stepbro. Maya bounced between apartments, making cryptic story posts like she was living some kind of aesthetic tragedy. Karen moved in with her sister downstate. She posted a Facebook update about starting over, followed by a filtered photo of a cheese board and 2 likes. The house? I made it mine again, cleared out every last bit of their clutter, took Maya's old ring light and turned her room into a home office for my online classes. Turned Cole's into a studio, nothing fancy, just a desk, a mic, and a chair. somewhere I could think, somewhere I could breathe. I even unpacked some of my mom's old things. Found her favorite blanket in the attic. Her charm bracelet, the real one, went back into her jewelry chest, locked safe. Then I called Linda, my mom's best friend from years back. She was the closest thing to family I had left who actually gave a damn. She walked into the house like it had been waiting for her. I can't believe it still smells like that lavender soap she used, she said, tearing up as she looked around. You've kept it alive. I told her the truth. I was just getting started. She offered to stay for a while, help me fix things up, plant new flowers, hang old photos, make it feel like home again. And for once, it did. It didn't echo anymore. It didn't ache. It was quiet, but not empty. And for the first time since I was 8 years old, I felt like I belonged here. Not as a guest, not as a burden, just as Evan, the boy they tried to erase. The man who finally took his house back.